Good evening, happy Thursday, and welcome to tonight's instalment of the Super League, or as we're doing at the moment, the CMSL Cup group stages. I'm delighted to say that stepping in very late for Statman Swan is one of the all-time legends of not just the Super League, but the mythical CM community. Good evening, Mr. Ian Edwards.
Hi, mate. How you doing? You all right?
Very, very well, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, good, thank you. Hope everyone's doing well. Looking forward to chilling and watching someone who actually knows what they're doing, taking charge of Northern Burn.
Well, you claim that, mate, but you're more than experienced enough to know exactly what you're doing. So we've got another 4 fixtures, one from each group again tonight. Obviously, you're one of the few managers that handed over the reins for the cup. Is that, and please be open and honest, is that just due to a lack of interest in your part, or are you genuinely interested to see what someone else would do with the Burn squad?
In all honesty, there's 2 reasons. At the start of the season, I must admit the cup didn't grab me as it's probably grabbed some, but also a penny kind of dropped with me when you talked about it would be nice to see people involved in the Super League who have been in and around the fringes who deserve to be involved, and the man in charge of our club tonight was one that sprung to mind for me. He come highly recommended from lots of people who mentioned that he's absolutely spot on, knows what he's doing, all that sort of stuff. So I kind of made a beeline for Mr. Savage quite early on to tick both those boxes. Really, I wanted someone who could maybe do a few things that I wasn't doing with them, and someone who could maybe take on the non-league stuff that possibly wasn't floating my boat as much as the regular stuff, perhaps.
No, that's absolutely fair, and I think everyone would agree that Mr. Savage is a great appointment. You can't do much better than appointing the man about to lead the nation into the World Cup. That's for sure. Well,
I mean, it's beautiful, really, because it kind of the cup kind of along the same lines as the draft. I wasn't hugely excited about the out of league signings, but I also wanted it to be done properly. So I brought Mike Savage in for that. He did a fantastic job of that. And as it's come round, those are obviously a lot of the guys that he's dealing with in these games that he's got coming up now. He had total free reign in the first match. He's got one hand tied behind his back tonight because I wanted him to name a couple of guys who I didn't want stealing off me in a future auction. So a couple of guys get a game tonight that may not have played under normal circumstances, but he's done me a solid and he's stuck them in for us there. So I've got to say thanks to him for that one.
And you obviously, I say you, Mike's Northern Burn conclude their group stage tonight. They drew 2 apiece with Rose in game 1. They've got their home fixture tonight against Celtics. Would you, given that it's still your team, even though Mike is overseeing it for the non-league stuff, I presume the message is you'd still like them to progress?
Oh, the message is win it. I'm not looking at a couple of them sides and thinking they're choosing 6 or 7 first teamers and then padding it out and Mike's kind of hamstrung because I've told him there's 12 or 13 guys that he can't touch. I'm thinking he's got 27 guys still there. Go as far as you can. We've got a good tradition at our club of winning stuff, of competing. We're not here to make the numbers up. I'm just pleased that I've got someone in charge for us who maybe thinks things kind of differently to how I think things. I mean, I'm quite well known for being pretty rigid, for sticking to my guns, from doing things a certain way. Mike doesn't just sort of think in a different box to me. He thinks probably
a different shop entirely,
on a different planet to me. Really, he does things that probably wouldn't even enter my head, and that's why a couple of things last week I just keep quiet and let him crack on with it, knowing that they're in safe hands.
And the eagle-eye viewers will notice that you have changed your display name for the cup to Burn Director of Football. And you did make me smile before we went live, where you said it'd be nice to sit down, relax, watch a Northern Burn game where you don't have to get behind your chair, arms crossed, etc. So I'm hoping you can enjoy tonight. Despite the fact that you're not in charge, usual rules will apply. So we'll look to do the Burn game last, so the Group D game last. We have had a message from Dan, who's just still having a few issues getting the little one down. So he's asked if Vikings can go a bit later. So if it's all right with you, I think we'll just run in group order where possible and start in Group A.
Let's go for it, mate. On the subject of Dan, I would just say as well, how good is that music? It's
phenomenal.
Lovely.
I'm kind of hoping to get a message off him sooner rather than later that he's got a couple more like that I can try, so we can vary it up as well.
Yeah, it'd be nice to hear something else, but it's also nice to get a regular theme tune as well, isn't it? It's kind of stuck in my head now. It probably will be for the next hour.
Good evening as well to everyone in the chat. I can see Tato is the latest to join in. So we are starting in Group A. So just a reminder of where we are. This is Triple P's debut in the competition, and the message from Rob is he wants silverware, and he has gone full strength with the same squad that beat Rose in the last league game. Thoughts on that, Ian?
It's one or two things, isn't it? Has he bothered putting another team in? Has he just thought?
No. The message actually read as soon as, within an hour of the pack coming out, it's, mate, I'm going full strength. I want silverware.
Right. Okay.
That was a genuine message.
Right. I like it then. Yeah. Why not? I mean, I don't know whether that is any reflection on the league season so far, or whether he wants to get a couple of guys going. I mean, he certainly got a couple of them players going last time out, didn't he? Wellens seems to have hit his straps. He'll be looking to get the Alessandro going that we got off me. I don't know. Did he get an assist last time? I can't remember.
In the league game, he did.
He did. He got an assist. So he's definitely got something. I think looking at that, I can see where he's coming from. He's found something, and he's probably looking for consistency as much as anything for the overall piece, as well as what in silverware. So yeah, a good shout probably.
Okay, interesting. Well, I say this is their first game. The other game, for those who haven't seen it yet, tick along as a reminder. The other teams in this group are Casuals, who don't play tonight. They will play Triple P on Sunday. Tonight, Triple P are away to the Gazelles, who did win 2-0 at Casuals. And those who noticed on the starting screen as well, considering it was a friendly, you don't see this often, the Walton Casuals board were not happy at the loss. So Archie's got things to consider for the second game, that's for sure. Gazelles then, they've kept the same formation, but again, they've mixed it up a bit. I think they're trying to get a few players that appearance to stop losing them. But again, and Hodgie mentioned it, Dan, one of the few people who does seem to be taking it quite seriously as well, with the likes of Pizarro playing. Rivaldo, I think, has been a virtual ever present. So he's taking it seriously as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether thinks he's maybe can afford himself that luxury, having got the 3 points in the first game. But then you look at that and you think, well, there's danger up top. There's still solid at the back. He's got a couple of guys in there. Perhaps he's looking at Welsh to maybe get him improving and get him kicking on. Rivaldo's always in the first team, and if anything doesn't go quite according to plan, bear in mind he is at home. What a bench!
Well, no, this is it, absolutely. And with only the top team in each group guaranteed to go through, if I do the maths here quickly, Gazelles, a draw almost virtually sees Gazelles qualify thanks to that win the other night. So good opportunity here for Dan, that is for sure. Having seen both lineups then, Ian, what is your match prediction for game number 1?
I think Gazelles shared it by a goal for me, mate.
Gazelles by a goal. If anyone didn't catch the action the other night, it's full subs bench name, 9 subs. Anyone who didn't name full 9, I've just randomly allocated players for you. But it's the same breaks, half-time and 60 minutes, and 3 subs are allowed to be used. And then we do use discretion if anyone after that 60-minute mark picks up an injury, because at the end of the day, it's a friendly competition. But let's kick game number 1 off and see if Ian's right. Rivaldo straight in there, 11 minutes, gives Gazelles a 1-0 lead. 2 of the stronger 11s that we put out by anybody in this competition, you feel. So big moment that for Gazelles taking the lead. And Pizarro with another opportunity, approaching halftime already. It's flown by quite quickly. And there is the halftime whistle, Ian. But the crucial fact is, Gazelles 1-0 up again.
Yeah, and one of his regulars doing the business for him. Looking at that, Rob's lads have been well and truly in the game.
Definitely.
Passes, tackles, headers, all very, very even. But, I mean, the text looked pretty Gazelles heavy. It doesn't show that in the stats, but again, going by off the back of a decent result last time out and at home, they could probably have afforded that luxury of bringing a couple of lesser players in and still keeping it going. It kind of feels like that's what they're doing.
It does, and how many times do we say you? And this is where you've got a very good reputation, because how many times do we say that the stats don't represent what you feel you've watched in the text?
Well, there's been a couple of Burn matches in particular this season where, people have said, oh, Burn have absolutely bossed that or whatever, and then you've gone to it at half time and we've done nothing. Sometimes I think we have certain managers in the league who do trust their gut and they just go with their gut. I know people like Scott and whatever. And sometimes at half time, like you'll see 2 or 3 of us who maybe will message you to go as is before we've even seen any feedback. And sometimes you're going on gut. And that is just kind of how it felt to me for Gazelles there.
Looking at the Gazelle stats that I've got up on the screen at the moment, with this being a friendly competition, if you like, look at the subs bench. Is there anyone you'd like to see get some game time? I mean, I'm looking at that thinking, obviously, Mendieta, Nedved, they're the good players, but we kind of know what they're capable of.
Harking back to my, the days of when I first came into this league, and I was gifted. Fair enough, it was a season 4 Samba, but I feel Cherno Samba in the Super League, if he shoots, he scores, and I would just love to maybe see half an hour in place of the already proven Pizarro.
Okay. Well, Dan's just making a swap. He's moving the fullbacks each side. That's the only change until 60. Same question then for Triple P. They've gone full strength, and obviously, if you look at the first 4 subs, they're the same 4 subs that we used in the last league game. I've added all the other players sort of further down. I mean, obviously, I'm biased. I like to see Simone Inzaghi as much as possible, but anyone else on that subs bench you'd like to see get some game time?
Well, do you know, we've seen what Dimble managed to do with Luke Chadwick, so yeah, maybe it'd be quite nice to see what Rob can do with Bojan Djordjic.
Well, and he's certainly an established name among the CM fraternity, isn't he? That's for sure. We have seen Rob, so he is definitely about to make any changes. Once again, the myth that is Zidane doing absolutely nothing.
And yet people will always...
They all want to be that guy that gets him, don't they?
Exactly. Is he one of those who the numbers just make up the results? I mean, I used to always think about Fiore. People used to always laugh at me about Fiore. And I always used to stick him in the team just because we won more than we lost. Yeah. He never did anything, but he was in winning teams. Mm-hmm. This season, like he's put 4 goals in from midfield, or 3 or 4 goals in from midfield, so he's doing a little bit more. And I wonder whether Zidane's one of those guys where you just like put him in because he's got decent stats and he's a decent rep player. But yeah, he's not for me. He's not going to be getting signed by the Bern director of football anytime soon. Let's put it that way.
Right, nothing has come through yet from Rob, so we're going to carry on till 60. Oh, hang on. Just as I say that, Zidane off for Romario. Zidane off for Romario. And he's going 3 up top.
He can't make his mind up this season, can he? He's 3 up top, he's 1 up top, he's 3 up top, he's 1 up top.
I'll just wait for Rob to confirm that's how he wants it. I mean, it is a friendly competition, but he did say he wants to win it, so you can understand why he's made that change, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, desperate for silverware, 45 minutes left to try and get some chance of silverware this season. Because if he loses,
it's certainly not going to be easy in his second game against casuals either.
That's what I'm saying. He's like, you know, if he is hanging his whole season on this cup run, yeah, he's got 45 minutes to save it.
So D'Alessandro is actually being withdrawn back into central midfield alongside Wellens. Greasy's saying, I understand 3 up top if you score goals. His comment to that. Just waiting for clarification from Rob if he still wants to diagonal arrow on D'Alessandro before we resume the action. But yeah, certainly will be interesting. Obviously, Mpenza Mackay, 2 players I know very well from my time. How many second place teams go through? 2. 2 out of 4 will qualify. So Dragons and Asta already in the quarters. That's fine, thank you. Rob's response. So yeah, Dragons and Asta already into the quarterfinals thanks to their lowly league position at the time of the draw. Top 4, the 4 group winners will go through, and then the top 2 runners up will make up the numbers. Let's resume the action, get to 60 minutes and see if moving to 3 up top will help Triple P rescue this game. And there was a big opportunity for them there. They certainly look to be creating plenty as we just passed the hour mark. They're playing their way back into it, Ian.
Yeah, it went very red all of a sudden, didn't it? And they looked like they were the only team in it from the text. Yeah, I don't know whether 3 up top suits Mpenza or whether he's one of those that you want stick him up there on his own and leave him alone, as we always say. He certainly hasn't got the best out of him yet. and he needs to find a way to get the best out of him quite quickly. Although it doesn't seem to be a great compensa on this iteration.
No. But Rob is confident because he's already replied without seeing his team or tactics or condition and saying roll. So he's happy with what he's seen in that sort of 15, 20 minute period.
A bit of momentum there, didn't there? So I can see why he's done that. He doesn't want to sort of like cut them off while they're getting going.
And as for Dan, I know you've already said you'd love to see Cherno Samba, and Dan, never one to upset or never one not to please the fans, is bringing him on for half an hour.
Shot on target, it goes in.
Dan just loves to please the fans, doesn't he? What I mean, I know you've had an opportunity to mention it, but what have you made of Dan's addition to the Super League? He's a very welcome character, isn't he?
Of course he is. He's a good lad. I mean, there's a lot of characters around this place, and you know, some of them are a bit on the edge.
Penza scores.
And Dan's a man after my own heart. He's a bit of a sort of straight down the middle good lad. So, yeah.
And it's 2-1. John Welsh has scored for the Gazelles.
Oh.
You said they would win by the odd goal. And here they come again. Neville. Wellens brings them down. And, good opportunity to Pedro with a cross. Gouffre gets it clear. 15 minutes to go. Triple P need an equaliser. Rivaldo with the latest opportunity, though. And Frede. Good. Another opportunity from a set piece from Gazelles. And here they come again, the home side. Dan's, I've not flashed it up because we've got the match playing, but Dan's messaged in saying, "This is on you now, Ian, mate." 10 minutes to go. Still 2-1 to Gazelles. Look to be heading for the quarterfinals with relative ease, you would say.
It's plateaued, hasn't it, a little bit? Dan will be happy with
maybe one last chance here.
5. And
there's a Penza, D'Alessandro, Wellens. And Wellens again, but Dida saves it into injury time. Here come the home side, but Candea, Romario now. But he's put it over the bar. Radoy gave him no space. One last chance in injury time. Roy Mackay, Candea. It's brilliant save by Dida. Off of his international teammate. And there's the full-time whistle. Gazelles have done everything they possibly could in the group stage. 2 wins out of 2, and they are through.
Congratulations, Dan. Well deserved.
War declared on Swansea by Rob, just in case. Triple P, certainly. You said at halftime they were in the game. They certainly threw everything they could at it, didn't they?
Well, the second half statistically was a reflection of the first half, except amplified. You know, the edge, the stats, the edge in both halves. Only it got ramped up on both sides the second half. But go back to it, don't we? I mean, you've got historically one of the best strikers in the business, and he's got one tonight. But I mean, they're not scoring goals as a team. I mean, back in the day, Rob's sides, it would have been 10 versus 9 at the end of the match, and it would have been 4-3, and it would have been carnage. And now it's like, now he's generally sort of last on match of the day standard, isn't he?
He's claiming it's an absolute robbery.
Yeah, I don't know about that, because it just felt like a little bit like rope-a-dope, didn't it?
Let's have a look at the victorious home side first. And Dida, we saw his name pop up, particularly towards the end of a couple of big saves, getting a 9 rating. Petrov as well in that holding midfield role and skippering the side, 9 rating. The fullbacks swapped, wing backs. They swapped sides at halftime. Both of them have come up with solid performances as well. Cherno Samba didn't really get involved in his half an hour.
No, I think my point being about Cherno was if you can get him actually to have a shot, it may go in. He didn't have a shot, so.
So the point's still valid.
Exactly. I'm still going to pretend I know what I'm talking about.
Despite being on the losing side, Emil Mpenza picks up man of the match for his goal and performance. There's also a 9 rating for Salih Hamidic. Concerns for Rob, given that he's thrown everything at this game and come away with nothing?
Yeah, I mean, it's a strange one, isn't it? There's 2 9s, there's no 8s at all. You're straight down into the 6s and 7s. So it's like, yeah, has he got 2 or 3 guys, and then he's not got enough to back them up? I don't know. There looks like there's plenty on that bench. Kaluzny, Beckham. These are guys that could probably make that 11. I would have thought. For the likes of Zidane, who gets hooked at half time. But these are two teams I expect to go back with something similar, back into the league, hit the ground running after the cup competitions, and find some momentum.
Let's move on to Group B if we can then. And that will see Bostock Stanley enter the competition for the first time. And they're away to Boostown Badgers, who beat East Coast 4-2 in what was a very entertaining start to the competition. Admittedly, game week 1 was very good. Only one team out of the 8 failing to score at all. But Scott has decided to use this competition to try out a narrow tactic. You can see there the on loan Ugo Ekiog makes his debut. A few different names in there as well. From Stanley's perspective, none of the big names that you're used to seeing. Thoughts on this team?
I love it. I haven't got the balls to do it, hence me getting someone else in who does have the balls to do it. But I think I like to see the narrow now and again, just to throw it into the mix and just to mix things up a little bit. I think we've seen in the past that Kennedy can do a job from CM. He did it for Thiago back in the day, albeit with a little advanced arrow at times. Plenty solid behind him as well. Mild can probably tackle all day and protect Ekiog and Vashuk. And then it's just a case of whether they can get the goals against the team who just seems to, when they do get a sniff of goal, hit the back of the net at the minute.
No, absolutely. It is nice. While you were talking there, I was clicking through some of the less familiar names. I'm very interested to see. I think how Lorenzo, obviously this will be his first ever Super League based appearance. The rest of the names I think have kind of been on the fringes in the past, or have played key roles in the past as well. Bruce is another one who makes his sort of first appearance in the live cameras, so to speak. So I definitely think that there's enough quality in this Bostock team, to suggest that Scott wants to do well. You got Mazzantini is well established, Vashuk, Mild, as you already mentioned, Kennedy's had experience, but Morte's played this year. Jardel we've seen as well, but he's also resting some of the bigger players.
Yeah, I would like to maybe have seen Tomadira get a game, just because you don't always know certain guys. You don't always know what version of that guy you're going to get, where that guy's going to cut it. And we've seen Dira do it. Sometimes we've seen him struggle. If that was me, I'd be looking at sticking up top and get an answer to that question ASAP, and you can write him off, or you can let him hang around.
Without giving a spoiler away, the second half of the Man U Villa game seems to be absolute carnage. Absolute carnage. Let's have a look at the home side. As we say, they had that cracking 4-2 win away at East Coast the other night. They make a couple of alterations again. I think I think Big Kid again's in charge for this one, but maybe Tato said, look, we just want to give a couple of people appearances. Samac's back after being his loan being terminated. Shaparo joins him. In the centre of midfield. And the big signing on loan from Triple P, how they could have done with him tonight. Martin Palermo has joined Badgers on loan for the second half of the season.
Yeah, he gets a poor rep, doesn't he, Palermo? And I know people have been chatting in Twitter tonight, and it's an obvious thing to say. 01 or 02 is not his finest hour, but he is still a class act. in it. You know, I've had the good, the bad, and the ugly from him in my time as a manager throughout various iterations. Is his strongest up front with Kesman in a weird inside right advanced role? Is he better on his own? You know, Haddad, he banged a couple in last game, didn't he? And I don't think that was from that position, was it? I'm not sure. It seems so unpredictable, this setup. You know, it's kind of guesswork saying what's going to work, what's not going to work. I love to see Vialli back in there, but again, he's got his work out because he's on his own. If they can continue to, you know, anytime they get anywhere near the opponent's penalty spot, the ball flies in the back of the net, you know, they're going to be hard to contain.
The one thing I did notice about the Badgers team, and I don't know whether it's an oversight on the part of the management duo, should we say, for this, are you a bit surprised that, given it's a friendly competition, they're allowing players, you know, on 87, 88, 82% fitness to be starting?
Yeah, you've got a point, especially when one of them's 16 years old. And maybe you got to keep him in, maybe because he's got those 2 goals. I mean, is it a reflection more of the squad ain't that great? I mean, you know, probably the most.
You're suggesting they're sending a message to the chairman?
Well, I don't know. The probably the most critical person of this squad is Tato himself, isn't he? I don't know what the discussions have been between Tato and Big Kid as to, like, you know, some guys have done well last time out, let's keep them in regardless. Yeah, I don't know. I don't. And again, we're talking Tato, aren't we? And
Maverick.
And fitness is a myth. So maybe he's not too fussed.
Can I ask you then for your prediction for the Group B fixture?
We're going to go for a Desmond, but it's going to be 1-1 by the time I get back from my wee.
Okay, lovely. We will kick this one off while you do that. Badgers starting very quickly. Good early pressure from the home side. You feel they need to take advantage, and they have this Semak who scores on 25 minutes to give the home side the lead. Will that wake up the very dangerous Stanley? It has a salver, levels things up, 1 apiece, and there's 2-1 Jardel, turning this game on its head, and good opportunity there to make it 2 apiece, and another one. Raining in the shots at the minute are Badgers, but they fail to equalise, and at half-time it is Badgers 1, Stanley 2. And just look, if the last game was a bit of a chess match, this has been a heavyweight tussle. Tato, without even seeing the stats, saying as is till 60. I do believe Tato was planning to just play the whole competition without making changes. As for Stanley, their rating's slightly higher, explaining why they are ahead at the break. But they certainly have a lot to do to guarantee this result. Scott also saying roll, so we will resume the action and go to 60. And we've already reached the hour mark, just as Cabello scores to give Stanley a 3-1 lead. And now we see how seriously Badgers want to take it. Welcome back, Ian.
Wow, that's fun.
So we are at 63 minutes, and it is Badgers 1, Stanley 3.
Was it gone that long?
No, it's just the only text has been goals, really.
Wow.
So we've just paused it at the break. You can see there Semak, who I said his loan had been terminated. I believe it was at White Rose. Yeah, he was at White Rose. He made 1 sub appearance. He's come in here for his Badgers debut. Back at his parent club, scored and got a 9 rating. And Tato is making the changes up top Palermo off for Fuccini. And Kesman off for Davidov, and that is it. So changing the front two. I mean, look at that. Got Seikau 65%, but he's being told, you carry on, lad. Claudio Reyna 75%. You just carry on, lad. You're fine.
Yeah, I mean, he's got Davidov on, who scored against us, so he's got history and recent history at that. How's so three away goals, right? Okay, Jardel, which kind of puts my Tomadera theory in the bin. Yeah, maybe this narrow has caught him by surprise, but that looks pretty solid, that, doesn't it? That kind of
solid ratings, isn't it?
Kind of like, I mean, you know, you put a performance out like this from something which really is trial and error, and all of a sudden, your squad just looks that little bit bigger, doesn't it? That little bit better, that little bit more filled out with some decent players, yeah.
And the thing is, the whole point, like for the likes of myself and Mike, even, who's obviously looking ahead of the World Cup for what players can do what. Oh my God, you're right. This looks suddenly a team trialing a new tactic, and you're like, oh, okay, I can actually see them going forward with this, and then you're like, actually, say Hakan Mild, I think you mentioned, and we know what he's capable of. He's made one sub appearance for the first team, but if he has a good, game today and probably again plays on Sunday, you're thinking, does he actually get in this team if they keep this formation now? And then what does that change? Who suddenly isn't required? And
well, I mean, he's been kind of known this season, hasn't he, to give a couple of guys games. Strand's got in there a little bit. He's given a couple of other guys games that have raised eyebrows, but they've come up with odd goals, or they've done bits for him. And sometimes you think, is it a reaction to everyone saying, well, he's got a fantastic squad, he's got to win the league, so he's maybe trying to do something different to prove a point and to show that it's not just because he's got all the best players that he's doing so well. We all know what he's capable of. We all know what Scott can do. And I think this is a real bonus night for him tonight, in all honesty.
Badgers are not giving this up. But that's it. Cabello makes it 4-1. Yes, he did, Steve. I saw it further up in the chat. 2 successive messages saying roll from Scott. Full time and another high-scoring game involving the Badgers, but this time they are on the wrong end of a team scoring 4. And that suddenly makes the, where does that leave us? So Stanley, 3 points, Badgers, 3 points, and they have no games left. Coast, no points. If Coast beat Stanley on Sunday, suddenly I'm going to have to get the calculator out.
Yeah. And I mean, Coast is it goals scored, goals difference? Because I mean, you don't get many goals in East Coast games, do you?
It'll be goal difference, then goals scored, and if it's still somehow equal, then it'll just be first letter. Yeah,
well, it might be a case of Dimble might want to pile all the big guns up top.
if Dimble wants to stay in the cup, he's gonna have to go for it.
Exactly.
But that was certainly an entertaining end-to-end tussle between these two sides, wasn't it?
Really good game. What's in of it?
You've got to appreciate when everyone's trying to do their best. So we get a message from Dan asking, can they go as late as possible, please? We say yes. Mr. Savage then offers, happy to let Mega Viking go last if necessary. Next message on the chat, Jens, Vikings next, please. I'm up early.
Do you know what? I've made my feelings perfectly clear on this in the past, and I think unless the only excuse you ever have for getting in touch with the chairman and saying, I want to play this, I want to play that, is if you do live in a different time zone. I think other than that, you roll with it. I've been involved in this now for about 8 seasons, and I don't think I've ever asked you, Martin, Boise, Ryan, ever, can I go this, can I go that? I just roll with it, whether my kids are poorly, whether I'm not going to make it on time. Just crack on.
Again, no spoilers, because I know some people might watch it back. But if what's just happened is the winning goal in this cup game, for me, that's got to be one of the worst cup tie winning goals I've ever seen. Ridiculous state of affairs from the defending team. Right, let's cast our eye over Badgers. Samak obviously out to impress. He didn't get a fair crack at White Rose. Do you think he's the sort of player that has the ability to do a job for Tato when it comes to the league?
Of course, yeah. I mean, Tato, I'd be the first to admit his squad isn't littered with superstars, and he's looking around for guys who can do a job. And Semak, he's done a job for different teams in the Super League at different times. Whether he does it week in, week out or not, we're not sure. But MC with an advancing arrow, he's done it plenty enough to tell you that he can.
Look at a few players potentially out to make a name for themselves. Cabello is part of the current first team, just the one sub appearance, but can't argue with a 10 rating and 2 goals. You've got Salva, who he's playing away in the reserves, but he's got plenty of goals in the reserves. You'll see there, and now he's scoring in the cup as well. So could he be a player that Scott looks at as an option?
It's a few in there, isn't there? Yeah, I mean, Cabello's have his stats in the right place. Hakamil, Salva, there's loads. I mean, Kennedy, we've seen him do it with a 2 in the midfield. He's done it his own in the midfield there. What's Steerite saying? Loves Semak. I think he just wanted to chalk off yet another player who's played under Steerite. He's going through them all. I'll check my DMs later if you want to loan someone just so he can say he's managed them at some point.
Well, speaking of your DMs, someone you might not be getting one from is the Vikings, who I've just seen, just put you down. You won't be pleased to hear that the Vikings are now on Edward's list.
What do you mean?
I was hoping you know I stay out of all these shenanigans these days.
I don't know. Have I got any lists? I don't know.
Congratulations to Stanley, who in their first CMSL Cup tie run out 4-1 winners. It's actually interesting. I'm looking at so that's 6 CMSL Cup games now, and Triple P in the first game tonight are the only away side to lose.
Wow!
Everyone else has drawn or won.
Come on, Rob, sort it out.
Next, we go to Group C and the Vikings. And have you seen the submission yet, or is this going to catch you off guard?
No, I have seen it. It's I think he called it the 10, didn't he?
He has called it the 10.
Yeah. It is being on comms for this one is a difficult one, isn't it? Because we have that bracket of we all know that Dan knows the game. He knows the game inside out, and sometimes, and he's a character, and he's a great lad, and he gives you a chuckle very, very often. And is he doing this because he thinks it's fun, or is he doing this because he knows it'll work and it'll make us all look like?
I'm sure in Swan, he did play this before. I'm sure I've seen him do this before.
My hunch would be that he knows this works, and he knows that if I say what the hell's this, I'm going to look like a dickhead for saying what the hell's this. So, to me, it looks like a stroke of genius. He's probably going to take advantage of the home field advantage and I mean, there's still great players in there, isn't there? He's got Mido in there. They very respectfully asked if they could send Overmars back this week because they wanted to give Mido a fair crack up from the reses.
And his recall has allowed them to bring in Lucenov on loan from Haggis.
Well, that's he's decent, isn't he? He's all right. I mean, doesn't look great there, but I know he's done bits. But I'm more interested in seeing how Mido gets on.
I'd love someone to get something out of Mido so that I don't just have to keep saying he has scored in a grand final,
Well, what is he, 18? And he already looks like a really top-notch, stats-wise, top-notch player.
I mean, 5 goals in 9 in the reserves so far. He's also got 3 assists in Mike's Wizard of Oz challenge. So he's trying everything he can to prove a point. But the only issue you've got there is if he does continue to do well and Vikings promote him, he then can't play in the World Cup.
And from those, I mean, he looks like, I mean, the one position we're not playing here tonight is a striker, and with those stats, Mido, I know he's got his arrow, so with the ball he's up there, but he looks like a striker to me, Mido. So if he can get forward and he can get the chances, then yeah, great.
Dan explaining, I've had fun with this in a Spanish save. It works against AI sometimes, but untested v humans.
Okay.
Are lone players allowed to face parent clubs? Void the game, says he. Do you know what? I'm going to allow it as it's the CMSL Cup. So yes, he can play. I've got no objections. And then Steve Wright points out that Ekiog did as well in the last one. Tim Howard, a player I'm excited to see if he could get some. You know, I've played with Tim Howard a few times in home saves, and he is capable on this. So it'd be nice to see if he can force his way into some first team action.
Yeah.
Ian's saying that he was kidding because he'd already told them it was fine for him to play anyway.
I think the goalkeeper situation at Red Vikings is an interesting one, though, because obviously Quinn looks like he needs a bit of a rest, and you would have thought it might have been a time for Costanzo to get some game time, but straight away they've gone back into the depths of the squad, haven't they?
Mm-hmm. Let's have a look then at Haggis, who were one of the managers not to supply a full bench, so I filled it up for him. We've got the likes of Christian Poulsen on there. Who else we got? We've got Daniel Jimenez is there. Koku is there as well. But let's have a look at the starting 11. He's kept with the tactic that's been doing him well. But it's a much changed team. There are some recognised names live, obviously. Amoroso up front, Sadabi as well, Rasicki. But there's a few more of the squad names getting a run out. I'm particularly happy to see Bumsong playing.
I am as well. I'm quite less happy to see my ex-wife just knock on the door. So if you just give me a couple of minutes.
What is wrong with co-coms? You've got people wearing masks, people putting accents, and people bringing their ex-wives around.
This might just top the lot. I'm going to put you on mute.
Yeah, indeed, Jens. First of all, I agree with his haha comments, and then what is this boring tactic? Disrespecting the cup in the worst possible way. Let's move straight on to game then, and as David Seaman leads out the Haggis side for this Group C fixture. So just a reminder of where we are. Vikings played in game week 1. They drew 2 apiece with Fulchester, so they really do need a win here, but they certainly can't afford to lose. Fulchester will play Haggis on... he's not seen her for 10 years. Yes, Haggis will play Fulchester on Sunday. That was quick, Ian.
She's gone upstairs to see the boy. Boy's been very poorly all week. Shitting and sick in left, right, and centre. So she's come out to see him for a few minutes. But we're good. We're all right.
So we've got one comment: she's risen from the patio. Another one: I'm going to be a witness to a shooting.
Do you know, I make it sound like that, but she's one of my best mates. So I'm only messing. Anyway, we're gonna see a beating here, aren't we? It's gonna be a massive home win.
A massive home win predicted. It's been quite heavily Haggis dominated text so far. The boring tactic, as it was described, is now leading as Amoroso opens the score. The creativity not quite working out just yet, but that has stirred the Vikings. Rasicki denied a great goal.
I did mean a massive home win after all the halftime changes.
Can you turn your camera to your entrance, Ian, just so we are safe?
My entrance? Who's that from? Julian Clary?
Ian just opening the door and telling her to fuck off home on you. Fuck off home. I'm on YouTube is brilliant, says Greavesy. We've reached half time. Haggis are 1-0 up. They've created plenty, but
Wow.
Vikings have been in the game as well.
I mean, you don't often this season see 14 shots on goal in the first half. We haven't dished that up very often. So for there only to be one
because
goal,
people are embracing the cup football, Ian.
Yeah, but only one goal. I mean, are we looking at a couple of great keeping performances here?
Oh, let's find out. Tim Howard on an 8. He is actually the best rated player of the Vikings team after that first half. Very low numbers in terms of actual touches of the ball.
Yeah, it's not amazing, is it? I mean, George Hardis has got the passes in. Kaka, he's had a couple of shots, but he's the one on the 6. Yes. I don't know. There's not an awful lot to say, is there, about that? It's not great. When you keep as the best player on the pitch.
This is absolutely true. Jens defending Dan's submission of a team there when claiming basically that Haggis have put no thought or creativity. But what they have done is put out a team that is currently winning. Their numbers don't look that great either, though, Ian.
They don't, but then they have got 3 outfield players who are rating better than their keeper, which I think is important if you want to win games. Amoroso, I like. He gets passed from pillar to post and doesn't really get considered in the league. I do like him. Are we seeing change? I'm not privy to the chat, so are we seeing changes from Vikings? I'd love to see someone actually get up there for them.
Dan, you haven't selected Gaia as an option. He's not on the bench to come on. Unless I'm missing him somewhere.
I mean, there are plenty of options there, aren't there? With Rayad, surely, Siliuk, maybe.
Right, hang on.
They're the 2 that stand out to me.
Right, so McAllister's coming on. We know that much. He's coming on for Rockenbach. Jens is very happy about that. I just want clarification on this first sub. Right, so Bridges is coming on for Duff. Go on, Michael Bridges. I'm sure that was one of the Fifey picks.
Was it?
Yeah.
It's a slight upgrade on Mark Knopper, anyway, put it that way.
Richard Knopper's great.
Is it Richard Knopper? I haven't got his name right.
You've not even got his name right. Mate, have you even looked at his stat? He's a good player. I
haven't looked at him, mate, no. I know him, you know, and I don't know if I've got his name wrong. I know who the guy is, but he's not getting his first ever Super League appearance at Burn, that's for sure.
Well, I hope someone takes him on loan. Gary Macker was also one of Fife. No, Gary Macker certainly wasn't one of Fifey's picks. And then there's Mr. Savage. Richard Knopper might get a game tonight.
Come on, Mike.
I have seen something from Ian as well. Donny is coming on. The irony that Donny wasn't actually named by Ian, and I added him to the subs bench. He is coming on for Jafar. We're now getting what is going on here? What sort of clown brings subs on they don't name?
And when you've got
and then Jens after us.
And when you've got a guy like Christian Poulsen on the bench, who can always pop up and grab you a hat trick.
Indeed.
And you leave him sat there.
Right, let's resume the action then with those substitutions made. Can Vikings get themselves back into this one? 51 now on the clock, another chance to double the advantage for Haggis. And then another, oh my God, all the 60s fly by with no time to stop. So we pause it on 79 minutes. That's possibly the most far away from 60 I've ever stopped it. So apologies to Vikings who, as we said, they can ill afford to lose and really should be looking to win, but they are losing currently. They do have one substitution left available. Be interesting to see. I mean, Roman Vasilyuk has got to be an option here to try and get back into it, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I still look at Rayhead and I think he's got to play. And I look at Mido on a 6 and think if he's stick him up top. And I mean, the one thing about this 10 is that there are things that you look at and you think, yeah, I could maybe shift a few guys around. But they've stuck with it for, you know, he wanted to stick with it for 60. I mean, he stuck with it for 79, which maybe not quite what he intended, but I think they thought they might have had a goal by now. But yeah, again, Vasilyuk or Ray are the two guys that I mentioned at the start of the second half who still aren't on. And yeah, Mido up top.
Ian, without seeing his stats, has already gone as is. Here comes a change. It is Vasilyuk coming on for Romoshenko. He's going up top. And Bridges is centralising. Move up front and centralise AMC with Arrow. So Bridges playing the supporting role to Vasilyuk.
Yeah, I mean, Mickey Bridges, I guess I'd be putting him as a 2 up top if it was me, but
as would I.
But we'll see.
So 10 minutes ago, can Vikings get themselves back into this now that they've got a vocal point or a target point up there? Free kick awarded. Goal kick, though. 5 minutes left to play. Do Vikings have one more chance? Here's Mido. Mido gets it again. And still Mido goes for a nutmeg this time. 4 minutes to be added on. We're into those 4 minutes now. Doesn't look like anything's coming. And Haggis continue the dominance of away sides in this competition as they pull off a 1-0 win over Vikings. That means Vikings finish the competition on just 1 point. And that almost certainly means they are eliminated. But Haggis very much have it in their own hands with Fulchester to play and probably deserve the victory.
Absolutely. I mean, I predicted a massive home win, so egg on my face. Well done to Ian. He seems to be getting something going at Haggis, home and away, league and cup. He's only had one sort of blip in the last maybe half a dozen games, so he's going to be feeling fairly confident going into the second half of the season.
No, absolutely agree. Let's have a look at the Viking stats then. And despite losing, it's the on loan Haggis man that gets man of the match.
Yeah, we said at the start, didn't we? When he doesn't look that great, but we know he's always come in and got 8s and done well for the teams in the past. I hadn't realised that they were freeing up another loan move to get when they sent Overmars back. I thought it was to bring an extra man from the reses in, but it seems to have worked out well for them.
Ian already saying we call Lucid off, please. Let's have a look then at the victorious Haggis side. It's just solid ratings throughout, isn't it? 8s and 7s everywhere.
Very. I mean, I thought, in all honesty, they might have been a bit weak deep in the middle. I thought, a young Lythe and Medina together might not have held out, but they've kind of proved me wrong and been very solid. I mean, Amoroso, eight shots. You don't see that very often in this league with a striker having 8 shots. 3 on target, get to goal, so you can't argue with that. But again, it's all 8s, no 9s. That's what I like to see. The amount of times this season where we've come away with a hard-fought victory and it's been all 8s, all 7s. Those are the games I like.
Let's just have a look in the chat here. Dan saying the formation not useless. Steve suggesting the Olasadovi 8 dubious. But congratulations to Haggis, who pick up a massive 3 points and instantly go top of their group. And that brings us to the final game of the night, the final game of match day 2. And it is Northern Burn. And Mike's or hashtag Savage Burn are at home to Celtics, who make their first appearance in the competition. Slight tactical tweak from Mike, where players moving all over the shop. And there's a lot of conversation about Rui Costa being used in this kind of quarterback role, as it was kind of being described, because of where we're used to seeing him play. And now he's gone with Costa with a backward arrow, and Thompson, Zone, and Makoku doing it as well.
Yeah, I mentioned to you at the start and off air that I'm never going to question Mike, because he's probably forgotten more than I've ever known about this game anyway. So it looks counterintuitive, as does the forward arrow on Yakubu puts him where he probably would be anyway. I'm always put a guy where you want him rather than the arrow for where you want him to be.
Yeah.
If I was going to have arrows on here, full disclosure to Mike, and again, it's not a question. It's just me. What I do, the arrows.
That's what you're here on CoComs for, is to offer an opinion.
The arrows would be on Castroman and Madavikia. I am more comfortable at seeing. Look at him going, you critical way. I love Madavikia on right wing rather than holding midfield. He looks more comfortable there. Again, I'd love to see him with an arrow. Lee Chun-Soo, a couple of goals this season. The one I am looking forward to, I guess, would be Victorino. Not a guy I know particularly an awful lot about, but he's one that Mike recommended to us at the draft. So he now gets a chance in a key position to do something. And I'd like to see Wes Brown continue how we left off in the last match with a strong 8 and provide a solid base for us. I can't argue with any of that. This is a million miles away from anything I put out, and that's what I love about what Mike's done for us in this run.
Well, let's see what it is you're up against, shall we? Celtics have kept with their traditional formation, and I kind of I'm taking this as they're going for it. I mean, Langfield started the last game. Maldini, Stam is a regular but didn't feature in the last game. Zaleas there in holding midfield. Takanadi and Redondo. They're not shrinking violets in that midfield either. Arca's making his debut from memory, but we all know what Arca's capable of. And then look at that trio: Raul, Shevchenko, and Morientes up top.
It's strong in it. There's no question he's going for it. I mean,
and look at the subs bench.
This is kind of like what Gazelles did first game out, and then some, because he's put the top 3 out. He's got his new signing up there. He's got Raul and Shevchenko who are absolutely on fire. You look at the guys he's dropped: Edgar Davids, who can't last 90 minutes without a red; Cole, who's hit and miss; Emerson, who no one knows what to do with. And the rest are just class. I mean, Marcelino's he starts from anyway, doesn't he? Arca's not much of a gamble. Zaleas is hugely strong. He's been moaning about Maldini not being available for a while. Now he's back. He's in. I mean, the only thing with that team, you look at I know he's not blessed with great keepers. The Langfield experiment, it's not going to end well. It's just a question of when it ends. But it's a great team.
So a reminder of where we are going into this fixture. On Sunday night, Burn drew 2-2 away at Rose, which means you're both sat on a point. This is Celtic's first game. So you're kind of in the same position that Vikings were. I know it's Mike's team, but Burn realistically need to win, but they cannot afford to lose.
Yeah, we need the win. You want 4 points from 3 games, don't you? So, or 4 points from your league situation. Gosh, you do.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's let's kick this one off. In fact, as you're not in charge, I can ask you, do you think Burn win this?
I've got a feeling, mate. Yeah, I think we do nick it.
Just before we kick off, what have we got going on in the chat? Mike winding up the windmill. Best of a bad bunch, Langfield, says Steve. Langy is the only keeper to make a save for me for weeks, says Greasy. Let's kick this final one off. Saturday, the 29th of December, 2001. Jermaine Defoe is leading the line for Burn tonight, and there was a chance for him. And a couple of chances, but somehow Langfield is making the saves. And there's Shevchenko at the other end, giving the away side the lead.
Come on.
Yakubu wasting absolutely no time in levelling things up. It's very Burn heavy, the text, but every time you see green, you feel like so. They want a penalty. Penalty's been awarded. Lee Chun-So scores, and Burn are 2-1 up. And now Celtic's really piling on the pressure before the break. Can they get an equaliser themselves? Oh, and Shevchenko and Raul both missing in the dying minutes. Ian's got a feeling. Oh, very nice, Steve. Wow. That was quite a pulsating first half, that really, wasn't it?
That was a great half, wasn't it? Yeah, enjoyed that a lot.
Not as many chances created as you might expect looking at the text, but it certainly felt like both teams treating it like it was knockout football at this stage.
I might sit in my chair for more Burn games at this rate. This is really good.
Much more enjoyable view.
I was a bit panicky there, thinking that the rep that waving for that pen, it wasn't going to get given, but I'm pleased with that. And that cheeky little arrow on Yakubu, advancing him a little bit further forward and chipping in with the goal was lovely.
Well, let's show Mike the stats first. It's fairly solid throughout. You might be looking for a bit more. Now you talk about Wes Brown. He's only rating a 6 at this moment in time. Victorino was another one you picked out, also rating a 6. Here's the man of the hour, Richard Nopper. Will he get to feature? I was hoping you'd sing it Black Eyed Peas style, 5 feet, as it was meant. I knew what was meant, Steve, but I'm not singing. I can't sing. But yes, there's Richard Nopper, Torrendre Flo there on the bench as well, Cedric van der Gun. Is there any of the substitutes you'd be particularly interested in seeing play?
No, is the honest answer. Mike knows there's one guy on that bench who he is named on the bench, not because I want to see him, just for box ticking. I'm not particularly fussed about any of them, apart from maybe Inzaghi, because I believe in him and I think he's top notch, and I'd like to maybe see him a bigger part of the squad, but he's not as big a part of the setup as Mike Savage is, so we'll leave him to it.
Mike's saying okay till 60. So we'll have a look at Celtics. As Greavesy says, Chev is now 4 in 4, by the way, which isn't necessarily form we're used to seeing from him. Look at all those 6s.
It didn't feel that. I mean, it's not just that. It's that run of 4 guys on single-figure passes as well. It didn't. First 15, 20 minutes didn't kind of feel like that, really.
No, not at all.
Celtics. It felt like they were bossing the game until we got a grip. But yeah, it doesn't bode well for the second half, does it?
As we mentioned, they've got a very, very strong bench. Greavesy is, however, saying keep his ears roll, baby. So let's resume the second half, get to that crucial hour point. Yellow card, free kick. And there it is, Defoe scores. What a massive goal that could be for Northern Burn in this competition. And not the start that Celtics wanted with how strong they've gone. You must be quietly delighted, Ian.
Yeah, quietly delighted. Not looking forward to the calls for this manager to take the reins full time. But for what he's doing here is great stuff. Yeah, absolutely loving it. Yeah, great.
Redondo kicking air has been mentioned. Maldini playing a blinder, says Mike Savage. Maldini rating harsh, says Steve Wright. Interesting. As you say, this is far removed from anything you would play. And I'm not expecting you to resort to this, but are you seeing just little bits, even just selections of people from these two games so far and what looks like it could progress to the knockout games? Is there food for thought there for you?
There is. I am, as we all know, very set in my ways. But there will be a lot of food for thought, and there will be probably movement from reserves up to first team next time around. One thing I can guarantee, though, you will never ever see me produce a backwards arrow on a submission. Other than that, plenty to think about.
So we've got Ludovic Julie coming on for Castroman. Also, Defoe, having scored his goal, is being taken off so that Inzaghi can get half hour or so, try and play his way into form. And Mr. Savage is done there. Content with those substitutions?
Content with everything, mate. Yeah, cracking job so far.
You said it was a matter of when.
Yeah, I've seen it before with him, and I've seen it before with all Greaves' keepers. So I mean, it was an easy one to kind of. It was a free hit, wasn't it? Yeah, if you're in charge of the Celtics and there does that, not that I want to bang on about it, and I know Greaves certainly isn't want to bang on about it. But if a transfer window was to happen, then then perhaps goalkeeper would be a position that he might be bombarding people's DMs about.
Dan pointing out Zayaleus is also on a 5. Evening Maka, who really hopes Adossa wins this cup. Greavesy is keeping as is. So let's resume the action with Burn 3-1 up, half an hour to play. Good opportunity that for the away side to pull one back and another one. They are wasting some opportunities. You feel a goal is coming. And if they get one, could they get two? Into the final 10 minutes, though, it's now or never, you feel. 5 to go. It looks like it's going to be too little too late if anything does come. But they've certainly given it a go. And there's the final whistle. And finally, we have a home team win again. Northern Burn make it 4 points from a possible 6 in the group stages. No transfers. You've had enough, says Maka. Massive result that for Mr. Savage. Good result for Northern Burn. But I said Celtic wasted a few opportunities, Ian.
I mean, they have. That's not the key number, is it? I mean, we did talk about the Celtics goalkeeper situation. 3 shots on target, 3 shots at the back of the net. He's just got like a bullpen full of butterfingers, hasn't he? And it's an Achilles heel. So it doesn't kind of really matter what you do. They've only had 1 shot on target more than us, so we've defended all right. Like I said at the start, I looked at what Mike had put out, and I had a nice feeling. And yeah, he didn't let us down. It's certain guys have stood out in the first game. Different guys have stood out in the second game.
Well, Daniel Benares got picked up man of the match. 7. He's won 7 out of 7 tackles, 5 of them keys. Also won 50% of his headers. As someone who, I'm not going to suggest that you focus on the defensive side of the game, but you like to be solid. Could he be a player even at his young age who finds his way into some first team action? I mean, his average rating in the reserves hasn't been stellar so far, but even from defence, he has got an assist. He's been featuring regularly.
I don't take an awful lot of notice of reserves average ratings, but I think there's enough pointers in certain games and certain opportunities that these guys get to know what they're capable of, and he is one who will be looked at for the future. Absolutely. We're not blessed with loads of quality centre backs. So, as I mentioned earlier, at the start of the night, so sometimes, like with Bostock, for example, sometimes you get a result like this or a performance like this, and your squad looks that little bit bigger. And whereas we were pinning everything on Hippier and Martin Larson, all of a sudden we've got Benera, we've got Wes Brown, and my next in line would have been Cesar, who Mike also brought in for us. And all of a sudden we've got 5 guys rather than 2.
It's a very good position to be in, that is for sure. A quick look on the Celtics team. Langfield actually did increase his rating in that second half.
Wow.
Sayaleas, unfortunately for Greaves, he didn't. There's just far too many 6s in there. And big 6s as well.
How on earth has that keeper got a 7? That is incredible. It's poor. Yeah, it's really poor. Sayaleas with a 5. And I mean, the worry for me there would be that he's put a massively strong team out. Got walloped, got a load of crappy ratings. That's, you look for the season going forward when perhaps they were building some momentum, and that could be just a bit of a kick in the knackers.
Well, it may well be. We will soon find out. Look at those tackles going in, says Mr. Savage. But that concludes tonight's action. So just a reminder, Badgers 1, Stanley 4, Gazelles 2, Triple P 1, Burn 3, Celtics 1, and Vikings 0, Haggis 1. That means that on Sunday, when, as far as I can recall, comms is still available. So if anyone's interested, please do get in touch. It means on Sunday we've got Triple P at home to Walton Casuals. We have got Bostock Stanley at home to East Coast. We will have Haggis at home to Fulchester. And we will have the Celtics at home to Rose. Mr. Edwards, thank you again for stepping in at such short notice. I really do appreciate it.
No problem at all. I've enjoyed it. It's been nice. It's been different. And I've really enjoyed it, yeah.
Can we have tables ahead of the last games? You can. I will type them up. And they will also be along the ticker like they have been tonight as well. But I will do the maths and I will get them typed up for you when I do the team news tomorrow. But from myself and from Ian, thank you very much for watching game week 2 in the CMSL Cup. We will see you again on Sunday. Good night.